Do you want to make games? Join the WVU Game Developers Club. They meet every Thursday at 6:30 in the Evansdale Crossing, room 412. No prior experience is necessary. They help you make your first game, regardless of what background you have. Everyone is welcome. You can check them out on Twitter at WVUGDC. Also check out their Facebook page. We hope to see you there. Hey, and welcome to Game Talk episode 15. I'm your host, Ahmed Mian. This week I'm joined by Michael Dumeyer.
Oh, boy.
Gabby Dumeyer.
Hello.
And Connor Haynes.
Hi, guys.
This is not an ASMR podcast. This is a gaming podcast. And right off the bat, we're going to sort of follow up what we talked about last week, which is pretty much EA's whole loot box controversy with Star Wars Battlefront 2 and the gaming community's response to that. As you all probably know by now, this podcast isn't exactly 100% current. Episodes come out a week or two after they're recorded, but the response to this whole controversy has been so large in magnitude and so I think impactful for how things are going to go going forward that I think it's really worth revisiting and talking about some more. So since the blowback from the EA loot box controversy, this issue has sort of slipped into mainstream consciousness. I saw it being covered on CNN.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You hear talk of governments, like the Belgian government, investigating whether loot boxes should be classified as gambling. Same with Hawaii legislators looking into that sort of thing as well. So this thing is actually gaining sort of steam now. It's been brought to the attention of the general public, which I think is very important. And I think that's the best way that we could see a sort of change or some sort of legislation limiting how much these companies can use these systems to prey on customers.
Right. I'm not sure how in favor of legislation I am at this point, because the last time gaming was in the spotlight like this of legislators, we ended up with the ESRB rating games. And I think that was the best possible conclusion to that, is self-regulation. But I'm just not sure. I'm not sure the industry can do it this time, because it's not like there's nothing artistic about a loot box. You can argue art when it comes to like gore in games and stuff and violence.
Right. And I don't know what the way is forward. It certainly is interesting to see how this will shake out in the weeks and months to come, but it's also interesting, I think, to take a look at the different sides that are sort of forming. Like, there are gamers on one side, and it looks like now that this has gotten popular enough, legislators and that sort, like lawmakers are getting on that side as well. And on the other side, I see sort of game publishing companies and developers, studios. On the other side, I've seen many studios argue that loot boxes are not gambling, and it's strictly a choice for the customer to make.
And it's really hard to distinguish. Like, a lot of game companies say that we have loot boxes because video games cost too much to make, but at the same time, none of them talk about how much money they make. Like, they'll talk about units sold and stuff, but nobody in the industry talks about how much money they're making.
And also, okay, let's take just the fact that, yeah, video games cost a lot to make, and you need loot boxes to mitigate that cost. Even if that was 100% true, I think we've gone too far in the other direction now.
I agree. And I don't buy it. I don't buy that games are too expensive to make. Like, you can do the math in your head about, how much it costs to pay the people working on the games versus how much money the games are making. The money's going somewhere. Like, it's not just getting burnt.
I mean, it's going into the pockets of executives.
Exactly, and
So yeah.
I hear what you're saying, but
yeah, I think it'd be good to sort of zoom in a little bit and recap what happened immediately after the EA response to the loot box controversy. Michael, do you have something to add?
Other than the fact that supposedly Disney stepped in themselves to get EA to back off on the microtransactions.
That's a really good point, actually. That's actually why action happened as fast as it did. So EA announced shortly after we recorded our last show that they were actually removing the loot box system, or not removing the loot box system, but removing the payment option for loot boxes from Battlefront 2 entirely. So now the boxes were obtained strictly only through normal progression in the game. And that was due to the CEO of Disney, Bob Iger, actually taking EA CEO, calling him or meeting with him or something, but basically just sitting him down and saying, like, you can't do this. And since Disney owns the Star Wars IP, and also they're Disney, you don't want to make Disney mad.
Yeah, and this is a huge embarrassment to EA, in my opinion. Like, the fact that they had to be scolded like a child.
And their response to that was kind of like a petulant child as well. They said immediately afterward, like, we'll be removing the payment options temporarily while we figure out a new solution.
Yeah.
So to me, that was basically like saying, all right, Dad, we won't do this anymore, but once you're not looking, we're going to keep doing it.
100% EA just got caught with their hands in the cookie jar.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's ridiculous to expect the CEO of EA to step down. I think this is big enough for that to happen.
I totally agree, but I don't think for a second that's going to happen. I also kind of want to point out how frustrated and angry other big studios must be, because this instance was kind of like EA ruining loot boxes for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't a fan to begin with, but this was big enough to make loot boxes look bad to your average gamer, I think.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And companies that were profiting from these things, like Blizzard and, well, Activision is Blizzard.
Yeah.
But you get my point. But these big companies that were profiting from this, I mean, this sort of negative perception is only going to make them lose money.
People don't just say I don't hear people just saying Battlefront 2. They say Battlefront 2, Destiny 2, like everything with a loot box. Overwatch is getting brought into it. And like all of those games have loot boxes, and I don't love it. But like I never heard anybody really, really complain about loot boxes in, say, Rocket League until now. Now I hear it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a popular thing to hate right now, and I'm for that. I hate them myself.
Yeah, it's interesting.
There's an angry mob right now, effectively.
Definitely for the past few episodes at least, this has been a central theme in all of our episodes. And I remember where we came down on loot boxes initially were, I think the general consensus was that cosmetic loot boxes were okay, but anything beyond that was a no-no. And I'm kind of the opinion now that this is, like, soured the pot for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think they should just go.
I agree with that.
No more loot boxes anymore.
I mean, I think something's going to happen soon. Like, legislation is going to happen, or self-regulation. Something's going to happen soon that's going to affect loot boxes in gaming in a strong way.
Yeah, definitely.
It has to.
Mentioning Activision actually brought up a kind of a tangent thought in my mind. Did you guys hear about Bungie and the experience for Destiny 2?
I did. How they were decreasing the amount of experience you get after longer playtimes without telling you.
Yeah, and they didn't tell you.
See, and
That's okay. Just really quick, that's fine if you want to decrease the XP, but you should 100% be transparent with the player and show them what they're getting.
no. So
The fact that they hid that is so slimy to me.
No, it's not even slimy. It's a rookie mistake, because World of Warcraft, also made by Activision Blizzard, has been doing this for years. You know what they call it? A login bonus. You get bonus EXP when you first log in, and then they taper you off as you keep playing. But that low number is your normal, and everything's a bonus. And that's the difference. And that's all it took to make people not mad about it. Like, what are they doing? That's stupid of them. Like, they should know better.
I don't know. The fact that this happened so close to the EA controversy really just makes me of the opinion that the whole quote-unquote AAA game industry is in a very, like, sort of crookish place right now.
It's bogus, yeah.
It's very sleazy.
But I don't think it's fair to say that either, because there are a lot of AAA games coming out that are fine.
No, I absolutely agree.
Nintendo hasn't been doing it.
Nintendo's the sort of golden boy right now.
Square Enix hasn't been doing it either.
Like, I think especially Mario Odyssey flies in the face of everything that's happening right now. Because if any other studio was making that game, you would totally be able to spend real money to unlock additional outfits for Mario.
Oh, yeah.
But with Odyssey, as we know, it's all unlockable through in-game progression, which is how it should be. And yeah, I don't want to paint everyone with a broad brush, but I think definitely this instance with Activision, what's been going on with EA, is definitely giving the industry a sort of painting it in a bad light. What do you think about all of this, Gabby?
Um, I don't really keep up with very much economics of politics, especially in big gaming, because I have never bought a loot box, so I think even played a game that requires loot boxes.
Bless you.
But in my opinion, it just kind of sounds weird, I guess, like the idea of them, especially with how it is now. I don't think I could ever use that system in any game I make.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I would never put a loot box system in a game I'm making unless it was a satire of loot boxes.
Right. And I think that sentiment is especially common with like younger game developers, which is why I think loot boxes, when we're talking super long term, like decades from now, loot boxes won't be a thing.
Oh, no, absolutely
This
not.
is
It's not.
I definitely think this is a
It's a
temporary
fad.
thing, solely to satisfy the executives at these big companies.
Right. I don't know. I think all the rage at AAA gaming might make a hole big enough for AA to come back, and I'm excited for that. Because I can get behind some AA games. Like Senua's Sacrifice, Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, they're trying to do it.
Yeah.
And I hope more people follow suit, because I've heard nothing but praise for that game.
It might be a little too early to say if what's happening right now can burn a hole so big as to bring back a sort of dead.
I mean,
Dead
it's
part
not
of
been gone
gaming.
that long. It's not even been 10 years. It's been gone.
It's still quite a long time in terms of the gaming industry, I think.
That's true.
But what I will say is what's happening right now has only gained more and more momentum. Where I was vocally on the show pretty pessimistic about it because gamers are very complacent people, I think.
Right. Yeah, this took me by surprise.
So yeah, this totally flew in the other direction of where I thought it would go, and I'm very pleased with it because people made their voices heard, and it's actually changing things, which is something I think we should all be proud of.
I think we do have to thank Disney in a large part because of this, because EA wouldn't have done anything.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
But Disney's involvement is probably what attracted some of the lawmakers to like notice it as well.
Yeah. And this whole thing makes me think, what would happen if EA just was like paid whatever severance money they had to and was like, you don't have Star Wars anymore, and they sort of gave it to another big studio.
I mean, EA doesn't actually have a severance. They're actually paying Disney for the license. So if Disney wants to take the license, it's Disney's right to take that away.
Okay, so if that's the case, then EA must be really sweating right now because Disney probably optically is the best, like in terms of a public viewpoint, is optically the best looking company in the world right now. They own Star Wars and they own Marvel. Two of the
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're
flashiest,
huge, yeah.
biggest worldwide phenomenons of the past decade.
Yeah.
You know? So any sort of negativity on their part, they're going to zero in on and just annihilate, I think. Because this is a company that's firing on all cylinders right now. They don't need this sort of thing.
I really wish they would not give exclusivity. Like I feel like they kind of I'm not going to say they impulse did it because that'd be stupid. They're smarter than me in this context by a lot. But like it feels like they didn't want to think about it. And so they were like, EA's a huge company. They're going to, be able to put big budget Star Wars games out and make money. But I don't know that's definitely not what I personally want. I wish Disney would negotiate individual titles with studios.
You know what I think would be brilliant? If Disney created their own studio for Star Wars video games.
Yeah.
And they definitely have the resources and money to do it. And they would definitely attract the talent to make fantastic games.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're actually doing something
Disney-
like that for Marvel. They're making their
Disney
own
has
internal...
to own a game studio. They have the Disney you buy the toys and you press them.
Skylanders?
No,
No?
there's a Disney version of it.
Disney Infinity?
Yeah,
Yes,
Disney
that's it.
Infinity.
Yeah. I don't know. It is kind of odd that they haven't broken into the game space in a big way, because that's just looking at it from like a purely business standpoint. There's so much money waiting to be made if they play their cards right.
Yeah, I agree. I just think, I don't know. I mean, from the outside looking in, EA seemed like a good choice. But, I mean, gamers were never happy about it. Gamers were
Yeah.
immediately terrified when EA got the license.
No, I mean, Disney looked at EA and was like, you guys know how to make money,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So that was a logical decision, but
But maybe next time they'll
Yeah.
pick somebody who knows how to make games and help us out a little. Throw us a bone.
I suppose that's one way to put it. Yeah, knows how to make games and not be completely scummy to the people they're trying to please, the customers.
I just can't
basically.
believe Battlefront 2 was the one they decided to loot box like to that extent. Like, I mean, I guess Battlefield was like that a little bit, but it wasn't your only progression, you know?
Yeah. It's
It's just insane. Like,
it's mind-boggling to think that they did this with Star Wars, which is just so easy to get right.
and
I
they
feel
did it
like.
after the whole like, oh, we're not selling any DLC for this game. It's all gonna be free.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah.
such a 180. I forgot about that. Yeah, they.
I knew
what,
I knew it was gonna happen. I
what-
knew
what
it.
scumbags? Because they trumpeted that. They like celebrated that. They were like, "Look at us, we've changed. We're gonna, we're all about you now, and we're not going to charge you for DLC." And then what happened.
Yep.
Going back on EA and the Star Wars license, EA's had the Star Wars license since at least 2011 before Disney bought LucasArts. Because SWTOR came out in 2011. So they had the license back then, and I guess
Right,
it's
but that was like
grandfathered in.
that was more individually negotiated. Because it used to be all kinds of studios made Star Wars games. It was mostly LucasArts, and they did a good job. But who made? Was it LucasArts making the original Battlefronts?
Not sure. I think so.
Because those were still much better games. I still play Battlefront 2 occasionally. The old one, 2005, I think it was.
Yeah.
2006?
No. The old Battlefront games are super
They're
loved.
timeless,
I-
really.
yeah.
The graphics still look okay. They're not good, but
And just the multiplayer in that game was so much fun.
I would have played a remaster of those. I'd have paid $60 for a remastered Battlefront 2 if they'd release it now. But
Yeah, and that's another thing that makes you so mad. They had the template to make this
yeah,
perfect
they didn't have
Battlefront
to do
games
anything.
because they already existed.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Star Wars Battlefront 1 was developed by Pandemic and published by LucasArts.
Okay. Yeah, we kind of veered off into a bunch of tangents there, but sort of bringing it back to the loot box controversy. Where do you guys, now that all of this has sort of come to the forefront, where do you guys predict it'll go from here?
A lot of balls in the air. I think we're gonna get. I think the most likely is gonna be that you won't be able to have loot boxes in a game that's not rated M. I could see that happening. Like the ESRB is gonna start looking at it, and a game that is sold to anyone under 18 is not going to be allowed to have loot box. Oh, that would make it AO, wouldn't it?
How do you mean?
How old do you have to be to buy a rated M game? Is it 17?
17?
But
18?
what about adults
Yeah,
only?
17.
17?
Is
Okay.
AO 18?
I don't think AO
It's-
exists anymore.
AO does exist, but it's 18 plus, and most storefronts won't sell it. You have
Yeah.
to get it through a specialty store.
It's a death sentence.
Okay, so, but even if that's the case, I don't think that will really solve the problem.
Well, if it's
Like-
adult only, it will because it won't be able to be sold literally anywhere.
I know like 5-year-olds who are playing, I mean, not personally, no, but 5-year-olds play Call of Duty, Kids get a hold of rated M games like all the time.
Right.
I don't
remember.
see really how that would mitigate the problem.
I know, but it's on the parents at that point. It's not on the industry anymore.
Well, with the
That's a good
fact
point.
that
Yeah.
Mature and all of the loot box things of being on the news and stuff, parents would probably see that. And if they see rated M games have in-game purchases, they'd probably, maybe at least for a little bit, pay more attention to ratings at least.
Yeah, now that you mention it that way, it'd be I think it would be kind of effective to put like on the rating box, like, warning contains in-game microtransactions or something to that effect.
Right, yeah.
Warning that...
Yeah, I mean, once we can filter our storefronts, like filter the online storefronts, have it on the box, everything like that, then I think that'll make it just as much of a death sentence, because I know plenty of people will just not buy them anymore once it's that easy to avoid them.
No. Yeah, I certainly predict that the death of loot boxes is coming. I don't know
Yeah.
how soon it's going to be, but I think it's going to come
And
eventually.
I predict I'm going to celebrate it.
Yeah.
Actually, it's probably going to go with a whisper. We're not even going to notice. We're just going to notice, like, it's just going to be something you don't talk about anymore. It's
Which-
just going to go away.
Which is fine,
Yeah.
as long as it goes away. A lot of game development studios are fighting the fight for loot boxes right now, and I hope that they sort of see the light and are on the other side because that's the side where their customers have sort of taken their stand.
I mean, I can't even complain. It's not any of the studios that I'm really a huge fan of fighting for it. It's, like the guys making Monster Hunter are like, hey, we're not doing it. Love us. But Nintendo's like not even saying anything because
Did you see what CD Projekt Red said?
Yeah.
We leave greed to other studios.
Yeah.
Absolutely savage.
It was savage. Yeah. And they're right. I mean, even if it's not greed, even if it's greed of the shareholders, that they have to appease, it's still greed. I don't care whose it is.
Oh, just remember another thing. Did you guys see that EA's stock was down over 8%?
That's rough.
Yeah, they apparently lost over something like $8 billion, something crazy like that.
That makes me happy.
So they're definitely hurting from this.
I'm really glad. Somebody needed punished.
And that's actually that's the most severe message you can send if the company's shares fall, because then the executives at the company will look at that and be like, how do we stop this?
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually got the greatest potential to make internal changes at that company. Any final thoughts on this? I know we've sort of had several topics about it, but I think it was important to visit it one last time.
Rest in peace, Battlefront 2. Or really, rest in peace, Battlefront 3.
Yeah, it's not coming back. It's done.
Although I could see them be like, Battlefront 3, no microtransactions, no loot boxes, free season pass, and try and get back on the good side.
Yeah, and you have to watch a 20-minute ad every death.
Oh, I would watch a 20-minute ad. Actually, I'd be playing more ads than actual gameplay.
Yeah, certainly EA will find a way to scum it up.
Yeah, I have no doubt in my mind. If they make another one, it's going to be scummy. It's a tradition now.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our next topic.
Our next topic is net neutrality, which I'm sure if you're listening to this at the time it's coming out, you've probably heard the term net neutrality being thrown around. Just to be clear on what it is, net neutrality is the idea that it would be illegal for your internet service provider to give preferential treatment to certain sites. So, for instance, your ISP couldn't block a website. They couldn't tell you you're not allowed to use Facebook, or they couldn't put an extra charge on Facebook. And that's relevant to gaming because the idea of, say, there's a lot of marketplaces now on PC. You have Steam, you have Origin, you have Uplay, and your ISP could create their own marketplace and block all of those, and suddenly there's no competition. They have a monopoly effectively on you.
And that's sort of the most extreme consequence of what could happen if net neutrality is repealed.
Right. A more likely scenario would be that they charge you a monthly fee just for gaming.
Which I could absolutely see something like that happening. And maybe throttling your connection to those sites unless you pay a fee.
Right.
Something
and
like that.
That's a nightmare to me. I hate that idea. And it doesn't help anybody. So a lot of the ISPs are saying that somehow repealing net neutrality is going to save the taxpayer money, and that's baloney. There's no foundation for that at all.
I really hope people rally behind blocking net neutrality's repeal, because I think this is a case of we are never going to fully appreciate how much we value net neutrality until we lose it.
Yeah.
And then when we lose it, if we lose it, people will realize what a mistake they made and how they should have desperately tried to fight to keep it in place.
Yeah, I'm not convinced, though, that this is very pessimistic of me, but I'm not convinced, my entire timeline on Twitter for 2 weeks now has been filled with net neutrality stuff, and I'm still not convinced that that's enough. Even though everybody's talking about it, I don't know a single
You know the depressing
person.
thing is? Literally everyone. Let me finish that sentence for you. I don't know of a single person who's in favor of repealing net neutrality. Not a single person.
Right.
I know a lot of people. But, and this isn't just personal knowledge too, just scouring, online sites and,
no matter what side, Republicans, Democrats, everybody, there's nobody stupid enough to think that repealing net neutrality is a good idea for the consumer.
Yeah, if you use the internet, you should be in favor of preserving net neutrality. It's as simple as that.
I mean, I have seen some of those Reddit commenters who are like, oh, yeah, net neutrality is garbage. We need to get rid of it.
They're contrarians, though. They're not...
Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, Reddit trolls don't count as people.
Yeah,
But-
I mean, yeah, people on 4chan are saying, like, every time somebody brings up net neutrality, they say go back to Reddit. But they're being contrarian. Like, it's what they do.
Yeah.
But any serious argument, but I still think it's going to get repealed. I honestly do.
No, I think it will because they don't care. Like,
No.
this is one of those things where no matter how hard the public screams, it seems like nobody cares. And it's actually so, like, the fight for net neutrality is so vile because I think on the FCC's webpage they had like a poll or something. Like, you can vote to say why you're in favor of preserving net neutrality or why you want to repeal it and write a comment as to why. And when they released their statistics, it was about 50-50, which doesn't sound right at all.
No, there's
Upon
no way.
some investigation, it was found that their poll or whatever was flooded with millions of bots voting to repeal net neutrality. And
Yeah.
the scummy part is the bots had actual customers' names, like people, like Comcast customers' names. So, like, you could probably find Connor Haynes, who wrote a generic "I want to repeal net neutrality" post on that poll.
That is
Which
that
is-
makes my blood boil.
Yeah,
That's infuriating.
That's disgusting.
That's
isn't it?
identity theft, is it not? I mean, more or less.
I mean,
But we'll never catch
they
the guy-
they
we'll never
don't
catch
they
who
don't
did it.
care, and they're going to do anything they want to get their way,
Yeah,
which is
it's
just
absurd.
yeah, it's vile.
And if you are part of that minority that really wants to get rid of it, I hope you enjoy paying extra for Spotify. Oh, and you want to use YouTube?
Also,
That's another $4.99.
lose our number. Don't listen to our show anymore.
I certainly think it's extremely important to discuss net neutrality and how it could impact all of our lives going forward. But seeing how this is a gaming show, let's talk about how specifically it could affect the gaming industry. Is it too far to suggest that net neutrality could have an impact on popular online ecosystems like PlayStation Network, Xbox Live,
No,
and
it absolutely
Steam?
can.
Yeah.
Yeah, easily.
But I could absolutely foresee a scenario where you're charged, your Xbox Live connection is throttled, or your PSN connection is throttled because Comcast has made a deal with Microsoft
Yeah.
or something like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
That
Easy.
something very shady like that could easily happen.
And now that game streaming is becoming like PS Now, I think it's called, and like OnLive is dead, but I think there was another one. I don't know, but streaming a game to your desktop or your laptop or even your phone, like that's all gonna get thrown into whack if people are throttling services. Like
Right.
ISPs have already been trying to do it with films. They've been trying to like compete with Netflix and stuff by starting their own. They're absolutely. There's not a doubt in my mind they're gonna do one for gaming.
See, it's a scary prospect to think of because what this does, if net neutrality is repealed, it gives control of the internet essentially to internet service providers.
Right. It
And
takes
they
away.
can cut up the internet into slow lanes, fast lanes, however they want to divide it to maximize their profits.
Any semblance of a fair ecosystem is gone. Anything like any ability for a smaller company to succeed on the internet just gets destroyed by this.
And yeah, like we mentioned, not only does this affect gaming, it will affect every aspect of your life. The only way this wouldn't affect you is if you didn't use the internet, which, let's be honest, if you're listening to this, you're using the internet.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. It's going to affect you. It's going to affect you negatively, and it's going to come out of your pockets.
Even if you don't use the internet, it's going to affect you because someone like somewhere along the ecosystem of like your life, someone's using the internet and they're going to get hurt by this. And that's going to hurt you.
Just out of curiosity, is something resembling like a net neutrality ban present in other countries?
There are a few countries where net neutrality does not exist, and they've already done like they've already split their internet into packages for social media and stuff. I've seen.
awful.
Yeah, I've seen it. I can't remember where because I don't know. Because I'm
You're
not.
thinking
I'm
of
careless.
Portugal?
I am. You're right. Thank you.
Just another reason to move to Canada.
Yeah, I mean this is one of those things I could see resulting in like a brain drain in the U.S. too. Honestly, you know, just ridiculous legislation making people leave.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much more to add other than just be vocal about your opposition. That's all anyone
Yeah.
can do at this point.
Don't be don't I mean you don't have to leave your office chair to do it. Just write the email. Like, there's a number you can text. There are links all over Twitter that you can click and put your name, put your email.
And though it is a depressing prospect to think that for every email you write, there's probably 2 written by bots with your name that say the opposite thing you're saying, it's still like the only way to get this to stop is to say something. So
Right.
we have to say something. Let's take a page out of what happened with the loot boxes. You know, who knows what could happen if we're loud enough and vocal enough.
Yeah. I mean, miracles happen, I guess.
So you mean if Reddit downvotes the FCC chairman's post about 64th
Let's be real. If
plus times?
If the FCC chairman made a post on Reddit, it would dwarf the Battlefront 2 downloads.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my
And that's
gosh.
saying something, because the Battlefront 2 post, the most downvoted post on Reddit, acquired that prestigious title by surpassing the previously most downvoted post by, like, over 10 or 15 times.
Yeah.
Like, easily.
Yeah.
All right, I think if that's all we have to say on net neutrality, we should move on to our final topic, which is Little Brother mode in games. I think Connor brought this up.
So Little Brother mode is it has a title I don't like as much called Girlfriend mode, but that's stupid and sexist and horrible. But what it is like a 2-player co-op mode where the second player has limited interaction with the game. Like, they can do less, but they still get to play. Like, if you've ever played Super Mario Galaxy, there was a second pointer, and they could, like, make Mario jump, and they could pick up the little star bits and stuff and shoot them. Mario Odyssey, that's a more recent game, where the second player plays as Cappy. But basically, the stakes are very low for the second player, but they still get to have fun and play the game. So it's a good way to share your hobby that you love with someone you care about that isn't so into it.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, I definitely think they're a great part of any co-op game.
And they go way back, too. I mean, you can think, like, Tails in the original Sonic the Hedgehog games was a Little Brother mode. You could pick up the second controller and play as Tails.
Yeah.
Or that wasn't in the original Sonic. That was in Sonic 2, I think.
And it's definitely a great way, like you said, for people who aren't familiar with gaming to sort of jump in and enjoy the game with someone they know. And I think it's an effective way of possibly getting people into gaming, because typically Little Brother mode, the controls for that mode are much simpler and and very intuitive. Someone who's never played a game before could probably pick up and play it no problem.
Right.
So it serves as a wonderful introduction to the world of gaming.
Yeah, and it's so much better than the old, hand your little brother the unplugged controller. Like,
Yeah.
this is an actual bonding moment you guys could have, like, because it's simple, but it's not insignificant, the things the second player can do usually. If that makes sense.
Some games take it to an extreme, I think. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I just think it's sort of amusing when you look at it. For example, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I don't know if you know.
It has the mode where you can't drive off, right?
It's actually the default mode in that game. You actually have to go in and change it.
Oh, wow.
Like if you play. But the default mode is like automatic steering and acceleration. So you can literally just not even touch the controller and race.
See, I don't have a problem with that, though, because you're not going to win. Probably.
But still, I don't think that should be the default mode in a game. I feel like
I don't
that
have
should
a
be toggleable.
No, I mean, it is toggleable.
Or like, it should be the normal from the get-go, and then toggleable going in.
I get their reasoning, though, because I would rather... I'm going to put us all in the role of a kid here. I would rather have the pride of turning it off than, like, the minor embarrassment of needing to turn it on. Right?
See,
like,
the way I look at it...
I don't feel like anybody's losing anything by turning it off, but having to go in and turn it on would hurt those kids' pride a little bit.
So here's the thing. Maybe I should have elaborated a little more. It's not explicitly clear that those things are on in the game when you start it up.
Right. I still
when you
don't have
start
a
the
problem
race.
with that, though.
So when you're racing normally, you'll notice, like, oh, these controls aren't responding the way I want them to respond. And someone who's more casual will probably never even notice that.
But I don't think they'll ever care. Yeah, like...
But the controls aren't as responsive as they should be because of that.
I think if you care enough about the game to notice, you're going to care enough to look in the options menu and be like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
I guess. I mean, I'm not trying to, like, argue against it or anything. It's just a little minor gripe.
Yeah.
But
I like it. I like that it's there.
Yeah. I definitely think Nintendo sort of champions it more than everyone else. Especially now.
It's getting popular in indie games too. Like Binding of Isaac has something sort of like it, where the second player takes a small amount of your health, and they get to fly around and shoot stuff. You know, but they can't like pick up items or anything. They're definitely a second-class citizen in the game.
As far as I know, I think it takes away a whole heart's worth of health from you and Isaac.
It's not a certain amount. It's like a percentage of your health that they get. So it depends on how much you have.
Can anyone think of any non-Nintendo games with little brother modes other than Binding of Isaac? I'm trying to think of like a Sony game, but I can't think of any.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, Sonic. Yeah, he's got
Well,
it. Sonic the Hedgehog too.
What was
You
Tails?
could just Tails. You would
And
play as
Sonic
Tails.
Mania.
Yeah, Sonic Mania recently. Yeah, Sonic 3.
Yeah.
All the 2D Sonics have it, I think.
Up past, yeah.
Past Sonic 1. Yeah, because Tails wasn't in that one. That's the only one I can think of off the top of my head, though.
Any Microsoft games?
I mean, arguably, like, Microsoft doesn't make like a little brother mode, but like in Halo, it doesn't matter if the second person dies. You don't lose anything.
It also doesn't matter if the first person dies.
Yeah.
As long as, you know, the other person's there, they'll respawn.
So that's not really a little brother mode so much. It's just a very forgiving co-op
Yeah,
mode.
that's another sort of kind of niche of these modes, I think, where the second player has like everything, like the controls the same as the first player, same mechanics and everything, but basically them doing poorly is inconsequential to the progression of the game.
Right, and
Which
I think that's good too.
that's a very good sort of implementation of the little brother mode, because if you have someone who's interested in the game and sort of wants to experience it full stop, they can just jump in and do that and not have to sort of get a watered down experience.
Right, and you can like the new Super Mario Bros. Actually, I'm not going to argue that for the new Super Mario Bros. Games because those are way harder in co-op.
Cuphead's also way harder in co-op.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
That's a game I gotta play.
it is. It does not have a little brother mode.
It is the little brother mode.
Yeah, Cuphead's way too easy.
Could you guys imagine like what would happen if the next Dark Souls game had a little brother mode?
It
I don't-
kind of does.
Does? Yeah, I
way.
mean, yeah, summoning people to come help you. It's not really a little brother
I don't
mode,
think that's something else.
though. No,
But
it's definitely something else.
That's more of the, I'm too weak to beat this, so let me get some friends.
exactly. Yeah. Whenever I play Dark Souls, I refuse to summon ever when I'm fighting a boss, just because I have to beat them myself.
I play Dark Souls for the story.
I don't know how to summon, and I didn't even know there was a tutorial in the first 5 minutes of Dark Souls 2.
Well, now that we're talking about Dark Souls, I kind of feel like we've exhausted this topic. Do you guys
Yeah.
want to move on to the end?
Yeah, I think I do.
Let's go.
All right. So every week we end with talking about games we were playing or games we recommend. I kind of want to go first this week. I have been playing Skyrim VR.
Oh, wow, it's out?
Yeah, and it is pretty freaking amazing. Just being immersed in Skyrim, just playing the opening sequence was completely different. It's like a brand new game to me. Riding in that cart, being like placed in the, being sort of knocked down in like when the executioner has his axe on you and like swings at you. And then Alduin, the dragon, comes and just lands on the castle and roars, and you're looking up at him, and he's a full-size dragon.
Did you like
right
wince
in
when
front
the
of you?
when the axe was coming down? Like,
A little bit. I'll actually tell you the part I winced at most, and I've only played like this for 30 minutes so far. Just keep that in mind. But in like the opening area when the dragon's like attacking and everything,
Yeah.
when you're in like the sort of caves and you fight off the giant spiders,
yeah.
they were crawling towards me, right? But then one of them just jumped at me. And it got like right in my face. And these spiders are huge, right? They're like massive,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
my
And then I
God.
was just like, oh my God. And like, cause it just suddenly lunged at me. And
I gotta try this.
it actually lunged at me, you know? And
Did you throw the headset off?
oh no, nothing like that. But it was crazy because I have my sword in one hand, so I just like cut it.
Mhm.
And then I just turn around and fire lightning at the other spider.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is so cool. It's such like a power trip because like you're actually in that world wielding weapons, wielding magic.
It seems like an experience that should be played low difficulty, though, to me.
Yeah, I have it on the second lowest difficulty, and
Yeah.
that's how I'm gonna keep it. It's wonderful that way.
I mean, they did that, the ability to cast spells in two different directions, something that I've kind of wanted to do forever because, you know, casting lightning in two different directions sounds great.
And kudos to Bethesda for actually putting effort into this VR port because there has been some serious effort poured into this. The controls are pretty intuitive, and there's several like movement options in the game that you can tweak to make it as comfortable as possible. Now, the way I play the game, I teleport to move, and it's a lot more intuitive than it sounds. Basically, you can press down a button and it creates like a little arc, and then whenever you let go of the button, you teleport to where that arc like terminated. And once you get used to it, it feels like second nature.
So on a scale, like, how Dragon Ball Z do you feel when you're like teleporting around a spider and cutting it up?
8.5 out of 10.
That's pretty good.
8.5 out of instant transmission.
How many Dragon Balls?
4 out of 7.
4 out of 7. That's pretty good.
Okay. But so to sort of continue on that, another one of their movement options is you can point in a direction with one of your controllers and like press a button to move in that direction. Now, I read that this is the most immersive way to experience the game because you're actually like walking through the world. I tried it and I couldn't do it.
Motion sickness?
Yeah. Even if I did it for like 2 or 3 seconds, I got extremely motion sick.
But the teleportation doesn't bother you at
No,
all?
not at all.
That's
and
amazing.
I kept trying over and over because I knew like I really wanted to like walk through Skyrim, but like I couldn't do it. Like I
See,
tried over and over. Maybe
heard
once I
you-
build up my
yeah.
tolerance, I can
hear
do
you
that.
gotta get your VR legs.
Yeah, but as of right now, I absolutely cannot do it. But I'm perfectly fine playing with teleporting. I'm playing like a sort of mage character anyway, so it's kind of like it
Yeah,
fits
so it
your
works.
headcanon,
Yeah.
you know, that you're teleporting around. But yeah, just with the brief time I've had with it, it feels like a brand new game to me. Just when you get out of the tutorial area and just sort of look around at the wilderness and the mountains up top, you're just like, oh my god, like I'm inside of Skyrim, right? It's a wild feeling.
That's amazing. I have to come over and try this.
Yeah, for sure. But just to sort of temper everyone's expectations, the graphics took a pretty massive hit. And it is noticeable at first, but I think after a few minutes, you just sort of forget because you're inside of
I mean,
Skyrim.
is the aesthetic still good?
It is. Far away, it looks kind of maybe a little blocky, but everything up close looks just fine resolution-wise.
Okay.
But again, you forget. You just forget after a while, like because it's
So, like,
just
how do
the
the menus work?
The
Like,
notion of being in Skyrim is absolutely insane. The menus, I think with your non-dominant hand, you press a button, right? And then like the 4-pronged menu comes up with like spells
Okay,
on it,
yeah.
and you can like point in direction and like navigate.
Is it easy enough to read?
Yeah, it's pretty intuitive actually. It doesn't feel difficult to navigate at all.
I'm
and you
really
can,
excited to
You
like,
can set
take a
like
look at it.
weapons and items and magic, potions, whatever you want in like a favorites menu that
Do
you
get
can
to-
quickly access.
Do you get to actually drink the potions or anything like that?
I haven't tried drinking a potion yet. I do know that you can like physics exist for like picking up and handling objects in the game.
Mhm.
So instead of just like adding it to your inventory, you can pick up any item and like move it around like that and even throw it,
Oh, wow.
which is pretty cool.
Can you do damage with a thrown dagger?
Yes, you can.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna get this, and the only thing I'm
Also,
gonna do is throw a
archery in this game,
Mm.
not the most efficient way to kill, but it is so cool. It is incredibly cool because you have the bow in one hand. You actually have to knock the arrow.
Yeah. I bet if you get good.
Yeah,
it's
no,
really good.
you actually have to aim
Mhm.
and like actually be good at aiming with a bow
Yeah.
to be successful at archery in this game, which is really cool.
That kills me.
And
I want to
all
try
of this,
so bad.
all these impressions just from 30 minutes of play. So I've barely even scratched the surface of this game. So I can't wait to like dive more into it.
Do you have it set up so that you like actually say the shouts?
I don't think you can do that in the game, which is a
You
huge
can do that
bummer.
on Xbox, on the Xbox if you have the Kinect set up.
But not with. I don't think that's
there's
that's
got-
not a VR option that you can't. I don't think you can say the shouts.
There's no speaker. Like, I mean, there's no microphone. There's got to be. You have to be able to. That's.
I don't
buck
think you
wild.
can.
That's
Well, I don't
ups-
have any dragon shouts yet, but I looked it up, and I don't think you can.
That's upsetting to me.
One
I'm-
minor gripe in an otherwise amazing
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. I agree. But
That subtracts at least 2.5 Dragon Balls from my rating.
yeah.
All right. What have you been playing, Michael?
Starcraft II, actually. Well, it went free to play, and I dove in, and holy crap, is the community really welcoming for a game that's been out for 7 years.
Yeah. Does it have online matchmaking? Is that how that works?
It does, but
Okay.
it won't let you do the ladder until you either buy a campaign, buy a war chest, which I don't know how those work. They might be loot boxes.
Yeah. If I had to guess, that's a loot box.
I hear that it's actually XP, so you actually like play the game and then you earn more parts or more items from that loot box or whatever.
So
But-
what's the gameplay like?
It is 7-year-old RTS goodness that translates well into today.
It's only
mean-
7 years old?
Yeah, it was released 2010.
I mean, Starcraft is one of the most popular games out right now. But just for those who don't know, is it? What is it? What's a good sort of like analog?
It's like the Command and Conquer games. If you remove all the static defenses and play it mostly on building an army really quickly and then overwhelming the enemy.
Well, that's only like one class in StarCraft, isn't it? That's Zerg.
All races are similar in the general idea that you have to have your army up quick because all the ranked matchmaking and unranked and online multiplayer is played in the fastest speed.
Oh,
So
okay.
instead of it taking like 20, 30 minutes, I can get a game done in 15 minutes
Wow.
at most.
That's actually awesome.
So it's pretty easy to get overwhelmed if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, I hear it's really steep learning curve, and
I've heard that as well.
I hear actions per minute talked about a lot, like how many things you can do with your mouse in a minute, and that's intimidating to me as someone who hasn't played it
Actions
before.
per second. I've even heard for that
Wow.
game.
Ugh.
I mean, it's pretty much APM, but once you get into it, it's really simple. Once you know how to build in a build order. Like, I've been playing maybe 10 hours, and I already have been consistently beating the AI on some of the harder difficulty levels.
Okay.
1v1.
Yeah, but you have some RTS experience, right? That's safe to say.
A little bit.
See, I do not. I'm gonna have to check it out later, though.
And the first campaign is free.
Uh-huh.
So
That's
you
how,
have to buy
that's
Heart
how
of
they get
Swarm
you.
Legacy of the Void. But the first campaign's 20 or 40 hours of content. And the other campaigns, like one campaign, it's $15 for another 20, 40 hours of content.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And to buy all the campaigns, it's $40. And that's, I think, all future mission packs they add too.
Do they have
Maybe.
plans to add more?
They said they were after Nova Covert Ops that they were going to add more. So they probably will.
Okay.
They keep patching it too. So since it still has a competitive scene, they still have to patch it.
Right on. Gabby, what about you?
I've been back into playing Oblivion, like the Elder Scrolls
nice.
4.
Yeah.
It's still very good. I forgot how detailed a lot of the NPCs can get.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, just remembering, I think I enjoyed a lot of, the factions. I don't know what the guilds, yeah, like the Thieves Guild, Assassins Guild. I think I like those more in Oblivion than Skyrim.
I did.
Yeah, Skyrim definitely toned down a good bit of the experience, in my opinion, if you're like me and you're interested in the lore and, role-playing type stuff.
Yeah. The one knock I have against it, a lot of the Oblivion gates are kind of repetitive, right? If I remember right.
Yeah, the Oblivion gates. The main quest in Oblivion itself is kind of weak, if you ask me. The Dark Brotherhood's definitely the strongest.
I really
Who've done
enjoyed
it
that.
is such a good mission.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Definitely a step back in Skyrim.
There are some really good moments in the Oblivion campaign, though. I don't know. Am I safe saying spoilers in this
Yeah,
space?
you
for a
can
game?
spoil.
Decade old.
You can spoil Oblivion.
There's this one part in the campaign where you're infiltrating a cult, and you're they ask you to kill this dude in front of everybody, and I was into my character. And I was like, I don't want to do that, and so I didn't. And me and the guy, he ended up dying anyway, but I didn't kill him. We fought our way out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does have strong moments.
Or the Fighters Guild, where you infiltrate the Blackwood Company, and you murder this village full of goblins, and you were tripping on his sap. Then you realize that those weren't goblins. That was an entire village that you just slaughtered.
Oh my gosh.
That's really dark. Yeah, man. I feel like I've forgotten so much. I used to play Oblivion so much, but
And
I barely remember
It's
anything
got
from
the
that
best
game.
DLC of
Yeah.
all time, the Shivering Isles.
And
Oh,
Horse
I
Armor,
actually never
thought you
played
were about
that.
to go to that.
I thought you were talking about Horse Armor as the best DLC of
Yeah.
all time.
Bethesda remaster Oblivion and throw it on modern consoles. Do it.
In VR.
Yeah, VR. Morrowind
I'd cry.
VR.
I want to see Martin's beautiful face one more time.
Connor, what about you?
I bought Rocket League a second time for my Nintendo Switch, and I've been playing that a lot. And I just gotta say, getting the full Rocket League experience on the go is more than I ever thought I would get out of this life. It's just so good. I've traveled a lot recently, but my ability to just take my Switch and wreck some people.
I think the common revelation going forward is just being able to play anything on the go
Yeah.
is just the best thing.
I care so little about the graphics in Rocket League that, yeah, Sign me up. And you can like pop off the Joy-Cons and have like a 1v1. Like, yes. Or do co-op. Like,
The portability factor is so strong, I'm seriously considering buying Skyrim again for the Switch.
yeah.
Just because it'd be so nice, like at an airport.
I know a
If
ton
you're
of people
bored,
who
you
did,
just
yeah.
pull out Skyrim and start playing it.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Speaking about portability, did you hear that PUBG's being planned to be ported to phones in China?
That's an abomination.
That's a whole nother topic. I can't get into that today.
But, yeah, I don't think that the novelty of the Switch will ever wear
But yeah,
off.
I mean, Rocket League is still amazing. I still get those mad aerials. I do miss my Steam controller when I'm playing it because I had some hotkey mess to make it easier to fly on my Steam controller.
Plus,
What?
just an added bonus, you get cross-platform play, right?
Oh yeah, I can play with Xbox people, PC people, and other Switch people. Can't play with PS4 people.
Right. One day that will
You're the
change.
worst, Sony.
In that regard, you are.
Other than EA.
Microsoft's worse than Sony,
Okay.
by and large. Anyway, that's
That's our show.
my fanboyism talking. But yeah,
Speaking of Warframe, no.
I think that'll do it for this week. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.